Welcome to the REDLINE Tactical Card Combat How to Play. REDLINE is an exciting and fast-paced sci-fi expandable card game built around manoeuvre and capture and control gameplay. In a game of REDLINE, players build up a squad of powerful war machines called efreets, then lead them into battle through simultaneous combat. In this demo, we're going to learn to play as the United Nations of Earth deck, which focuses on precision and battlefield control. They are cunningly led by tactical genius General Camilla Brand. The goal of REDLINE is to lead your squad of efreets to capture and control all the mission cards that make up the battlefield for your game. To begin game setup, place the mission deck in the middle of the table between players. Flip the top 5 mission cards over to create the battlefield or red line between players where combat takes place. Missions are arranged in order 1 through 5. Next, place the critical hit deck at the end of the red line of mission cards. When ready to start, players will place their 60-card deck or arsenal on their baseline. Recon, a special resource players can accumulate, is tracked by the recon die. Since players start the game with 0 recon, we will put them aside for now. Each arsenal in REDLINE is led by a general that grants powerful abilities to build around and use during play. However, since general cards do not start in play, let's flip them over for now and put them in their command bunker. Once setup is done, players roll for initiative and draw 7 cards off the top of their deck to begin playing. The highest roll wins initiative, which we will come back to later. There are multiple card types in REDLINE Tactical Card Combat. Resource cards generate materials to help deploy new cards when they are expended. Players may only deploy 1 resource card a turn. Once a resource card, or any card, is expended, it will not reset until the beginning of the next turn. Next are a player's efreet cards. Efreets are agile and powerful weapons of war at each player's command. Every card in REDLINE has a resource cost that must be paid to deploy it to battle. Efreets have 3 basic stats. Damage is how hard an efreet hits in combat. Armour shows how much damage a unit can take before being destroyed, and speed indicates how agile an efreet is in battle. At the bottom of every efreet card are its equipment slots, which show which types of upgrades it was designed for. In addition, every efreet has special abilities, described in its text box. This Tiger Cat comes with the Precision ability, which is incredibly useful in combat for when the dice don't roll your way, and is unique to the forces of the UNE. Next are equipment cards. Deploying equipment to an efreet makes it even stronger and more capable in combat. There are 2 ways to add equipment to an efreet in REDLINE. If an equipment card is already in play, you may pay its equip cost to add it to any efreet. Or, if the equipment card is still in a player's hand and it matches with an equipment slot on an efreet, you may deploy it directly onto that efreet for its resource cost only. This is a one-time deployment bonus, so once an equipment card is in play, you must always pay its equip cost to move on to new efreets. To gain a surprise advantage during play, players can deploy powerful tactics cards. All tactics cards have special commands that affect the game in numerous ways. Even better, they are the only cards that can also be deployed using recon, as indicated by the recon symbol next to their deploy cost. So be careful, because an opponent with depleted resources but full recon may still have the upper hand during an engagement. Finally, there are REDLINE's general cards. Each general begins the game in the bunker, face down. When their deploy cost is paid, they flip over into the HQ and are considered active, able to use their abilities. When in the HQ, generals can take damage just like efreets. How much they can take is shown by their armour value. When they have received max damage, they return to the bunker. You may return your general back to HQ by paying their resource cost, plus 2 extra resources for every time they have been sent to the bunker during a game. Before combat, players take turns to build up their squad of efreets along their baseline during the deploy phase, the first phase of every turn. The player who lost the initiative role at the beginning of the game always goes first. At the beginning of each player's deploy phase, they reset all expended cards and add any recon from controlled missions before drawing a new card off the top of their arsenal to add to their hand. Players may use resource cards to deploy cards from their hand to their baseline, equip units, activate card abilities, or start repairs. To repair an efreet damaged in combat, simply flip it over and remove damage counters from it at the cost of 1 resource each. In Redline, flipped cards are temporarily absent from the game and cannot be interacted with until they flip back. Once a player is done taking actions, they end their deploy phase with no more than 7 cards in hand, and the other player begins their own deploy phase. What sets Redline apart from many other card games is its simultaneous combat, centred around manoeuvre and the unpredictability of the fog of war, which all begins in the mission planning phase. Once both players have ended their deploy phases, the mission planning phase begins. Planning manoeuvres in secret is easy with Redline's mission dials. Simply select the number of the mission position you want your efreet to attack and place it face down on your unit. Watch out as both players plan missions simultaneously. Can you anticipate your opponent's attack or outflank their movements? Being able to outthink the other player to gain an advantage is key to victory in Redline, so plan your missions carefully. Once both players have placed their dials, flip them over simultaneously to reveal their manoeuvres and get ready for battle. During the combat phase, missions are carried out along the red line in numerical order. If 2 opposing efreets meet at the same mission, an engagement begins. During an engagement, efreets take turns making attacks in accordance with their speed. The faster an efreet is, the quicker it can make its attack. In this engagement, the Tiger Cat will fire first, as it has the highest speed, and choose to target the Crimson Pact of Mars Rabbit efreet. A successful attack is one that rolls at or above the target's speed, which means this time the UNE Tiger Cat missed. But the Tiger Cat can use its precision ability to re-roll the attack in an attempt to gain more accuracy. A hit! Now it's time for the rabbit to return fire. If an attack roll lands on a target speed exactly, it scores a critical hit. Assigned damage as normal, then the attacker flips the top card of the critical hit deck over and assigns its condition to the unit that took damage. However, in this case, the player controlling the Tiger Cat chooses to respond with a tactics card called Close Call that will reduce damage by 2. Any time a player responds to the actions of another, it follows the rules of Redline's chain of command. Cards and abilities that are played last in the chain resolve first, then work their way backwards. So in this example, playing Close Call last will reduce the damage to the Tiger Cat by 0, but since a critical hit was rolled, it will still suffer the critical hit and now has a limp leg. After all units have made their attacks, the player who lost initiative may choose first to stay engaged and keep fighting, or retreat from battle back to the safety of their baseline. If both players stay to fight, another round of combat begins. In this case, the damaged rabbit will retreat to live again and fight another day. Once all opposing efreets have retreated or been destroyed, the remaining efreets attempt to capture the mission. Each mission card has a capture cost that surviving efreets must roll at or above to successfully capture a mission for their side. Because the tiger cat is a medium efreet, it rolls 1d6 to capture. Light efreets capture with a -2 bonus and heavy efreets with a +2 bonus to their capture rolls. Success! When a mission is captured, place a faction marker on it to show ownership and deal capture damage equal to the mission's capture cost to your opponent's baseline. In this instance, we will raise the enemy deck for 3 cards that will go into the scrapyard, which is where all discarded and destroyed cards go after play. Missions grant bonuses to the players who control them in the form of recon at the beginning of every deploy phase, along with special advantages. In addition, faction markers increase the capture cost of missions by 1, making them tougher for opponents to retake if you can get to them first. Once all missions have been carried out, the combat phase ends and a new turn begins with a new deploy phase. If you can control all 5 missions on the red line at the end of the combat phase, or deplete your opponent's arsenal of cards, you win the game, and that's it. How you build your forces in Redline and lead them into combat is entirely up to you. And since every battle is different, thanks to the layout of the mission cards, no exact strategy ever works twice. Just remember, no plan survives first contact with the enemy.